Good morning, class. I hope everything is well. Today we are doing a digital lesson. I hope you guys are comfortable with this and as excited as I am about it. Today we're talking about abstract expressionism, and we're going to have a very fun activity at the end. So stay tuned, listen up, make notes in your textbooks, please. Of course, as always, when looking at an art movement, you have to consider what's going on in the world during that time. So, World War I ended in 1918, and 38 million people lost their lives. The worldwide economic depression, which followed, obviously led to World War II. World War II was between 1939 and it ended in 1945. And the Pacific War was ended by the atomic bomb. I'm sure we've all heard about this, we've seen the pictures. That happened in 1945. World War II claimed about 60 million lives. Now, in the next photo, I'm going to show you a picture of what the Hiroshima bomb looked like, just to give you guys an idea. The end of World War II signified the end of European cultural dominance. Obviously, Germany fell, so other countries like America started to dominate popular culture. Okay, some other background that needs to be considered. Here I've listed a few artists for you guys. You will receive the PowerPoint. You're welcome to look at some of these other artists. Today we are specifically going to look at Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko. These artists did not form a movement, so they were not like the Dadaists that had a whole manifesto. They were contemporaries in age, but there's no manifesto, no program. The art critic became the unofficial spokesperson in 1952, and the article was published under the title The American Action Painters. Now you get two types of abstract expressionists. You get the action painters and the color field painters, and we'll have a look at those two now. Okay, let's look at some characteristics. Subject matter was never realistic. That is what abstract means. You can't define what it actually is. It is the act of painting and an honest, emotionally driven experience. The compositions used to be non-representational. The action painters had no planning whatsoever. They only splattered the paint onto the canvas, whereas the color field painters may have a little bit of planning, but it's not really as important. It's the act of putting paint on your canvas that was important. Two-dimensional character, the flatness of the canvas is emphasized, especially with the color field painters, and the shapes were meant to be interpreted as brushstrokes, drips, geometric surfaces of color, so no recognizable shapes at all. It's by chance or interpreted by emotion. Then when you look at application, the action painters were gestural and very aggressive. They threw the paint onto the canvas. They used brushes, they used their fingers, they dripped paints from tins, whereas the color field painters used textured and visible brushstrokes in these huge canvases that they created. The color did not refer to visual reality. Color field painters saw the non-figurative color surfaces as expressions of the idea of transcendence. So basically what that means is if you stand in front of these artworks, remember they were monstrous in scale, there's this feeling of transcendence, almost as if you can fall into the canvas and fall into the color. That's basically what this is about. And we are starting off with an action painter, one of the most famous action painters, Jackson Pollock. He's the leading example of what an action painter is and what they do. He's the very first person to have used action painting as a technique. He always stretched his canvas out on the floor and then he threw the paint on it, sometimes directly from the tin, sometimes he dipped towels. Sometimes he used sticks. He included glass and sand to create some tactile texture into his artworks. His paintings were obviously never premeditated. He had the nickname Jack the Dripper, which is very funny. If you get that reference, let me know on WhatsApp. And he was an expressive character in his work. There's an existential anguish he experienced throughout his emotional and tumultuous life. So when you look at his artworks, you'll see that there is a high sense of emotion that drove his method of painting. Here's an example of one of his artworks, Autumn Rhythm. You can see here the dripping of the paint. Nothing really looks like autumn, so the name doesn't link with the subject matter. There are no definable shapes, no pictures or items or objects that we can make out with our eyes. It's just a massive spectacle of emotion. Remember, these artists created monumentally huge artworks. So if you had to stand in front of this massive painting, it's about what the viewer experiences, but also what the artist felt while creating the artwork. Up next is a very famous color fields painter, Mark Rothko. Some of you may have heard of him. He's mentioned in a lot of series and movies because his paintings sell for quite a lot of money. He immigrated from Russia with his family in 1913. Remember, this is during the First World War. He was inspired by Avery and Matisse, so especially Impressionism. In 1947, he turned to complete abstraction. So his works with large, soft edge colors, sometimes with symmetrical compositions. His work became more and more somber, and by 1970, he committed suicide, unfortunately. When looking at this example of Mark Rothko, untitled Purple, White, and Red, the fact that he doesn't even title the artwork further expresses the abstraction of the artwork. You can see a dark purplish color with a not bright white and a dark red as well. This is one of his later works, so closer to when he committed suicide, and I think you can see some of the somber emotions in the type of colors that he used and how he placed them. So you can see these are rectangular shapes, but the edges are very soft. It's not sharp like you would see at the Bauhaus. It's not a designer type of thing. It's an artwork. And these artworks were also very huge, very massive, and it had visible brushstrokes. Okay, that is it for our theory lesson. Now the fun can begin. You were asked to bring A4 or A5 paper. If you don't have paper, there is paper in class. We are going to create our own expressionistic artworks. There are 2 YouTube links on the WhatsApp group. Please listen to these songs, either out loud in class or with your earphones, and create what you feel. If you brought one A4 paper, cut it in half, and then you can do both songs. So you're going to use the paints. There are paints in class as well. Please remember to clean up your brushes afterwards. And you're going to paint what you feel while you're listening to the song. And we're going to discuss this next time in class. So please bring these little artworks that you created next time. We're going to show each other and see if things were similar or came out very different. I'm very excited to see what you guys create. And have fun with this. Close your eyes if you want to. You can open it. Remember, this isn't about creating a recognizable image. It's abstract, so you can really just let go and have fun with it. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoy the next portion of the lesson, and I'll see you next time.